Hello and welcome everyone to a panel I'm very excited about. It is our Powered by Snowflake Builders panel, where we'll hear from three very innovative builders on what they've done for their products and companies powered by Snowflake. So to kick us off, Shivani, Matt, and Lara, would each of you mind just introducing us to what your company does and what product is powered by Snowflake? Shivani, let's start with you.
Thanks so much, Mallory. Excited to be here and thank you for having me. I'm Shivani Stumpf. I'm the Group Vice President of PowerSchool. We're an education technology company. We serve over 45 million kids across the entire world with the products that we provide. We're a new Powered by Snowflake customer. We started our journey last October, and the product that we're building on top of Snowflake is called Connected Intelligence for K-12.
All right, that's awesome. I can't wait to talk more about that. Lara, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Also happy to be here. So I'm Lara Tromba. I lead solutions engineering at Monte Carlo. And what is Monte Carlo? So Monte Carlo is a data observability platform, which means we help our customers understand the health and quality of the data in their ecosystem and in their pipelines, and help them manage the quality and reliability of their data products. And really our mission is to minimize data downtime, which I like to liken to application downtime, which, if you think back to the early days of the internet, it wasn't the end of the world if your website was down. And of course, now it's unheard of. And this was in large part to the rise of application observability, which helped DevOps folks minimize application downtime. And as data has become more critical, not just for internal business decision-making, but for companies as they monetize their data, as they productize their data, we're seeing the same need for data to minimize data downtime and to help customers make sure that they can trust the reliability and quality of their data. A little bit about us as a company. So we have hundreds of customers, many of which are mutual Snowflake customers, Pepsi, Roche, Vimeo, just to name a few. And we're backed by the same investors that backed Snowflake, Looker, and Datadog. To your question about how it is that we use Monte Carlo or Snowflake, rather. So we offer automated alerting for customers to know when they have inaccurate data, missing data, or otherwise erroneous data. And as I mentioned, we also offer them insights into the health and quality of the data in their ecosystem. And all of that is made possible by Snowflake on the back end.
Awesome. And then Matt, last but not least, tell us about Simon Data.
Thanks for having me. I'm Matt Walker, the co-founder and CTO at Simon Data. Spent my entire career as a practitioner of data at scale. And at Simon, we use Snowflake for about 4.5 years, so quite a while now. We're an orchestration CDP, which means that we're a customer data platform with an integrated marketing cloud. So we integrate customer data from behavioral event streams, data warehouses like Snowflake, first-party vendors, et cetera, in order to produce a unified customer profile. And then we use that profile for segmentation and feed it into the marketing cloud for campaign orchestration, in which we do cross-channel using marketing channels like email, SMS, custom audience products, direct mail, webhooks, data feeds, and much, much more. So our primary differentiator is really the data layer that underlies the marketing cloud, and Snowflake's a critical component of its architecture.
Awesome. As a marketer, near and dear to my heart. Matt, let's stay on you for a second. From the intros, I think we gathered everyone had a slightly different journey to Snowflake. But having started off as a product that predated Snowflake even, I know you had to re-platform. What drove that decision?
Yeah, sure. It started when we chose Snowflake to power the backend of our reporting product. We were pretty surprised by both its range of functionality and performance characteristics. So we started exploring what other pieces of our architecture would be suitable to migrate over. And we quickly saw value out of our ETL processing, especially utilizing data sharing capabilities. But we also saw use cases that were user-facing queries, like the ones that power our unified contact view, using performance features like clustering and micropartitions. And even today, we still have pipelines and operational data stores that don't live on Snowflake, but we're always endeavoring to bring more and more over, both as we're able to, but also as Snowflake's functionality matures, in order to support the workloads that we have.
And then Shivani, I think your journey to come to us was a little different, but very relatable to a lot of folks out there, I'm sure. I remember you used the analogy of it was like Lego blocks. You came for one thing and one use case and started adding on to it. I'd love to hear a little bit more about what that first use case was and what caused you to add more of those Legos.
Sure, Mallory. So we started looking at Snowflake actually a few years ago. And it was the perfect time last October when we actually embarked on this journey. At PowerSchool, we're an aggregator of best-in-class products from various different companies that have come into PowerSchool through acquisition. So everything that's used by students in the classroom, by teachers, as well as district staff and the back office. So if you have a kid that's in school, most likely they're using at least one or more products, and the staff is at least using one or more products provided by PowerSchool. So we have all of these transactional systems that are generating a lot of data, and it was imperative for us to unify and consolidate this data, of course, segregated by customers, so we could make sure that we're innovating fast, and we're using all of this data to solve problems that are near and dear to the hearts of educators, policymakers across the board. So we started with the vision of consolidating all of the data from the 15,000 different databases that we have and every database technology that you can imagine out there across every cloud provider, AWS, Azure, GCP, even on-prem, and bringing all of those data sources together. So that was the first use case that we really started off with. And then we realized that there are so many more problems that we could be solving with this. So there are other areas of the business that had ODSs where we decided that we don't necessarily need any of the clunky legacy technologies anymore. All of that can be moved into Snowflake, similar to Matt was just describing. And we've embarked on actually much bigger initiatives as well, looking beyond just K-12, especially with the power that Snowflake provides, and already with somewhat of a presence that Snowflake has in the public sector, going across state agencies. So one of the big, and I would say is pretty significant initiatives across all of these state agencies is what's referenced as P20W. So this is connecting cradle to career insights. So helping figure out the journey of a kid pre-K, so early childhood, K-12, post-secondary, and workforce development, and figuring out what policy changes could we make, right? So kids are graduating from high school, but not a lot of them are actually successful when they go to college. How can we make sure that instead of them having to take remedial courses in college, we provide them the right kinds of supports in school? Or how can we make sure that our kids who don't come from financially stable backgrounds actually can get a free ride to college, especially if states have programs in place, and most of the times they don't even know about these programs? Or how can we make sure that kids are actually being prepared for jobs of the future? So as you can see, education is the center stone of problems that need to be solved within each state agency for furthering economic growth, workforce participation, and of course, all of that can happen, by maximizing education attainment. So we've embarked on this journey with Snowflake to actually help, and a lot of the features, the security, data privacy, and governance are some of the key and most significant features. And Snowflake's unique architecture for secure data sharing actually enables a whole new world of opportunity for us and our customers that we just did not have before. And so, yeah, we continue layering on. And the last piece is the data marketplace. So the third-party data sources that all of our customers could take advantage of, like demographic data, census data, data from the National Labor Exchange. Today, each agency tries to corral all of this data themselves. So there's opportunities for us to make publicly available data that every state agency needs. We will curate it and provide that potentially through the marketplace. So those are exciting opportunities with Snowflake.
Those stories are always my favorite. Thanks for sharing that, like that final mile of what we can actually all enable together. And data sharing is another interesting component. I think we're going to talk about it more in a little bit. But before we do, Lara, I bet in your role, this is something you think about a lot, especially with how fast Monte Carlo is growing. And I know you're all about helping organizations reduce downtime and deliver end-to-end trust. So I have to imagine reliability and performance are really important to you. When it came to architecting, what were the most important factors in selecting a data platform?
Yeah, so there were a few critical factors in why we got so excited about Snowflake as a solution for ourselves. And I would say it's really comes down to three factors. So number one, we run our application on AWS, and we knew that we wanted a solution that would run there, close to where our operational environment is running. We knew we didn't want to be moving vast amounts of data across clouds. The second reason is that we knew we wanted a solution that would serve both production use cases and development and exploration for our data scientists with the same data sets, but in a way that didn't impact our production workloads. And the third reason, which you alluded to, right, was that we are a startup and we knew that we would be growing really quickly. And we wanted a partner that could do that with us, allow us that flexibility with minimal operational overhead.
So scale, I think, is part of that. And for any parents out there, I have to imagine they remembered homeschooling not so long ago. And Shivani, I think PowerSchool probably had to think about scale in a huge way when it came to being an online education platform during the pandemic. So I would just love to know, like, what you had to consider about meeting your customer demands when you even had to think about things like security and privacy and what you were delivering in a seamless way, and how the tooling that you would come up with really helped that.
So COVID definitely created interesting challenges, and I would also say interesting opportunities. Of course, really quickly, every agency had to come up with a mechanism to serve their kids remotely. Of course, that created a proliferation of tools within a district and a state department of education. And this proliferation of tools, later made it very difficult for decision makers to understand what's happening at a school district. And of course, with data being in all of these different transactional systems, again, the problem of, how do we unify insights across all of these disparate sources of data? So, of course, the aftermath of that has really helped progress both our thinking as well as our customers' thinking in terms of this notion of unifying data and creating data lakes for every customer with all of their data sources, whether they're PowerSchool data sources or non-PowerSchool data sources. And using Snowflake, we actually launched the first data as a service platform that includes bringing together all of the technologies for our customers to actually bring together all of their data, as well as provide them what I call, a playground within Snowflake where they can plug in, of course, just with their data sets. They can plug into those data sets. They can use it for downstream integrations. They can use it for reporting. And their data scientists, which a lot of our customers have data scientists, researchers, and also working with higher education institutions and their data science programs to run artificial intelligence and machine learning models on this data. So with the capabilities that Snowflake provides, the other advantage that I see for both ourselves as well as for customers is not having to focus on infrastructure, right? If you're working with some of the other providers, you spend so much of that time piecing together all the different servers and tools and technologies in order to make all of that work. Whereas with Snowflake, as long as you understand SQL, which is a really, really probably one of the easiest and most available programming languages, easily adaptable programming languages that is out there. So as long as you have SQL, and then of course are using Python or Jupyter for your data science workbooks, you're off to the races. And that's what's really helped us. And that's what's caused a lot of interest from our customers in terms of unleashing that data that they now want in order to draw correlations between what happened in COVID, the impacts that had on student education and learning loss, the opportunities that it's going to open up as we can start looking at the data and draw correlations between where we can provide the most supports for our kids moving forward.
So let's get back to a topic we touched on a little bit earlier with data sharing. Matt, I think Simon Data pretty heavily leverages the data sharing capabilities. Could you help us understand a little bit better how that helps meet customers where they are?
Yeah, absolutely. For us, data sharing is critical bidirectionally. So we're using it both to ingest data and for sharing out of the platform. So on the ingestion side, we're connecting directly to our clients' Snowflake instances, but in some cases, we'll be executing queries there and pulling the results back into our system, while in other cases, we'll establish data shares and pull the data from there into our internal instances. But the critical capability there is flexibility to take advantage of either work that they've already done upstream in order to ensure consistency between their data model and ours, or in the case where they haven't made that investment yet, then being able to supply our own ETL to shape the data up for them. On the outbound side, Simon's capable of publishing the data pretty much at any stage of our processing. So whether that be raw event tables that we can expose directly, or the aggregated customer profiles, or if they want to go all the way down the pipeline and take advantage of our most carefully curated reporting pipeline data, you can tap into it at any point in that outbound data share. And what that really enables is offloading advanced analytics and data science downstream of Simon so that we can focus on the core data processing and the marketing applications, but we're not blocking the users from deeply integrating with that curated data from Simon, which they're going to utilize in their own data flows, which potentially extend beyond marketing use cases.
Very interesting. Lara, I'd love to ask you a very similar question. Anything that Matt mentioned that might resonate with you and in your work, and specifically if you ever think about data sharing when it comes to new features or what you're thinking about architecting.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely resonated. So we offer insights and operational information, like I mentioned, to our customers about the reliability, performance, and even impact and effectiveness of their work on the data platform. And the way we do that is create a lot of very valuable data sets. So for example, we'll help them understand what are the key assets in their environment, where they're covered in terms of monitoring and testing, where they're incurring data debt. So where are there things that could be deprecated, and many other things that really help them operate the data platform itself. And we've made this available within our UI, as well as via our API. But what we're really excited about and what our customers are really excited about is leveraging Snowflake data sharing to put that information back into our customers' environment. So some of our customers actually have access to those data sets that I mentioned in their own Snowflake accounts. And they're now able to join that information with other data that they have, right, with metadata that they have, to customize the analytics and the solution to their own needs.
Excellent. Thank you. So now that we've gotten to cover some of what we're doing today, where we've come from, I'd love to jump into where we're going, as well as where the industry is going. So for those of you who tuned in, it was about 4 or 5 months ago at our Snowflake Summit in June, we announced native applications or native applications framework. And Matt, you actually were one of the builders that's starting in that program. So I would love to hear from you what your experience has been like. And for anybody out there that's thinking of exploring native apps, what should they keep in mind? What's been your lessons learned? Share with us.
Yeah, native apps feel like a pretty natural evolution and some welcome structural best practices for some of our internal processes. So we were particularly impressed with the development velocity boost that we got out of combining it with Snowsight, because you can prototype and test your changes in Snowsight and then factor them into your application very easily. We're looking forward to continued improvements in the developer ecosystem, and we want to contribute there as it starts to grow. But we're also excited to share that what we've been up to with our first app, which is the Simon Schematizer, and that imparts standardized schemata to common event data sets from popular MarTech systems like SendGrid or Shopify. And we started there because it's a seamless fit with the native application framework, but it also benefits us because we get upstream standardization of the data that we're pulling into our platform. And then technically, we've been exploring interactions between the native apps and our own APIs, but we've also really enjoyed utilizing the Python support that's provided by Snowpark. We're using that both within native apps, but also in our connected and managed apps as well. So we've been migrating essentially SQL generating processes to utilize Snowpark abstractions instead. and then we let it do the query generation for us. And lastly, it's definitely been a learning experience, but it's been a great example where our Powered by partnership has just been invaluable. We're in constant contact with our account management team and even a resident solutions architect as we're mapping out new functionality, integrating to it, and then eventually scaling it up and getting it into production systems.
Oh, that's super. It's so exciting for you. And thank you for taking the leap with us. All right, well, let's end on a fun one. Since all of you, I think, are pretty forward thinking and at some of the more bleeding edges of the technologies you're seeing. So question for everyone, and we can just go in the same order we did introduction. So Shivani, Lara, and then Matt. What is your prediction for data-intensive app development in the next 5 years?
Well, my prediction, Malery, is that clearly there's a proliferation of data, and the good thing is that there's a lot of focus now on the data being the new oil, which there was never that focus before. And so I think with that, and especially with the evolution of even of some of the tools and even the recognition, similar to what Lara was talking about in the beginning of the call, data observability is not a very known concept, I would say, across the industry, right? And everybody understands application development, application observability, but folks really don't understand data observability. Data engineering feels like it's a team that sits somewhere and they do data type things, as most companies are focused on application type development. So I guess my prediction is that data engineering, data engineers, everything data related is going to become more of a first-class citizen. To me, it feels like how, the world moved from a web first to a mobile first. Now it's going to move to a data first type of thinking, where, everyone's going to start thinking about the data, and then they're going to work their way backwards in terms of what that means for applications and solutions that they provide their customers.
I have a very similar perspective. I think what's so exciting is that it feels like it's already happening, right? I think we've seen over the last 5 years, and I'm sure we'll continue to see it in the next 5, that this trend is just going to accelerate and continue. And I think what we're seeing is, as a result, a lot of great innovation in the space, right? Snowflake's Unistore, Streamlit, the advent and emergence of reverse ETL tools like High-Touch and Census, Data's APIs like Patch, and of course the advent of data observability. And that was one of the reasons that I got so excited about Monte Carlo. Is I saw this huge trend in the market where more and more companies are monetizing their data, they're productizing their data, and it's just going to become even more critical, as data does become that first-class citizen, right, becomes front and center in customer-facing applications.
Yeah, and I guess I'll bring it slightly more technical, but I'll go to the extreme of predicting that I think event stream processing and the cloud data warehouse are really going to start to converge. In Simon today, we have to invest pretty significant effort to seamlessly integrate Apache Flink and Snowflake under the hood. But in 5 years, I really hope to see that, Snowflake features like streams and tasks just evolve to the point where it's a truly one-stop shop for both the extreme, like low latency event stream processing, as well as the massively scaled out data processing workloads.
Thank you to all of our panelists for their incredible insights across different industries and different journeys to Snowflake. It was very interesting to hear. And thank you also to everyone who joined this session, taking your time to listen to it. For those of you watching this on YouTube, go ahead and hit the like button so you can follow our channel.
Almost 10,000 miles away from Africa lies an area known as the Silicon Valley. Known for its Patagonia-wearing inhabitants, indigenous scooters, wild robots, and unaffordable housing. Here, we find a lone python that has traveled all its way in search of colder climates, better opportunity, and stock options. The python can grow to be over 30 feet in length and concatenate string littorals together. These non-venomous predators have different diets depending on their size. Where most prefer rodents, lizards, and small birds, The one you see here prefers data. Where is this Python's journey taking us, you may wonder? Well, to Snowflake, of course. It's in search of their snowpark to call home after a long voyage across the world. Python for Snowflake has arrived.